Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new, my name is Lesego Ranko, and on this channel it's all about learning, growth and contribution, the faith-based content. I just thought I should throw that in there because that's what we're doing for a while. I don't want to even say November and December. I just want to say this is where I'm finding my confidence and my groove. But I did mention that I would speak on a blue item that I bought a couple of days ago actually. It's only been 2 weeks, I think, a week and a half. So I think it was important for me to come here and kind of give you a feel of what happened before I got that or in the process of getting that. And also not to take away the fact that this was such a big move for me. And I feel like there was a time where I thought that buying this apartment that I'm currently sitting in on the floor on right now was such a big deal for me. Like, I literally thought I'd get so many flowers and people would be like, black girl in corporate buying an apartment, yo. But there was none of that. I got like a few, well done, congrats, But funny enough, you go and you buy a BENZ and people are just overshowering you with like love and like, oh my gosh, and Lesego, but wow, what a incredible experience, but also a humbling one. And I think I wanted to just reflect on what had happened just so that it can also come across as something that can inspire you. And it's a proper testimony because I never thought that I could do what I did. And you'll understand after I'm done telling the story. So what had happened was, it was a Saturday. And just to give you context, I had a Smart, a Mini Merc, It was a Smart for 4 and I've had it since 2017. And I got that car when I was doing my first attempt at CTA and my parents got it for me, right? And so that car for me was like very dear because like any first car, it has like some sentimental value. I still remember driving from the dealership to home across Lens area, going to the south in that car, nervous out of my mind because my mom was obviously driving another car and I was driving my car for the first time. So that car for me held so much value to me. Zoe was born while I had that car. We used to like travel with her. I did my second attempt at CTA, going to UNISA and all these weird venues to write tests. So for me, my Smart was something that I really enjoyed. Even when I started working at the Big Four in 2020, I had no like scum about my car. I really loved my car, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's such a cute car, it's so small, it looks like a scuff teen, and I was never offended by that because I don't think I've ever been a car person. And for me, I'm such a practical person. Like, I need things in my life that just make sense. I don't need it to be flashy. I don't need to prove a point to anyone. Like, I just need to get things done practically, and for me that car was doing that. And granted, since 2017 up until now 2023, this car has never caused me any problems. I've never had any issues, no claims of insurance, no accidents, none of that. So for me, that Saturday this year, which was, I can't remember the actual date, but it was a Saturday, my husband travels a lot to work, and so that car is more convenient for him to travel in because it's fuel efficient, and also because it's so easy to maneuver around the car. He used to travel to go to different sites because he's a mechanical engineer and he goes to different sites, and so it made sense for him to drive my Smart and then I used to drive his car. So newsflash for the people that thought I had a BENZ, no, I didn't have a Benz. I had a mini Benz. I had a Smart. So I used to drive his car, he drove my car because it made practical sense. And so this Saturday, he told me that the car was showing that it had an issue with like a filter, or it was showing that like the petrol is going down or something about the water coming out of the car. And so we were like, okay, let's take it to the mechanic, and we took it on Saturday. And I thought it was a quick fix. I honestly didn't think much of it. I was a bit heartbroken because I've never actually had issues with this car. So for me to have that being an issue, I was low-key mad at my husband because I'm like, if he didn't travel so much, this car wouldn't be the way it is, but that's just me being extra. So on Monday we call the mechanic. The mechanic is like, no, the car is not fixed there's a part that is missing, and because I don't know if the Smart 44 has been discontinued or what is going on with Mercedes, but apparently the part needs to be imported first to South Africa, and they don't keep stock on standby, so you actually have to make an order. So that order was going to take 8 weeks. 8 weeks? Like, we are still going to work. Are you telling me the whole of November and December I'm not going to have a car, or you're going to only use one car? And I was really taken aback by that comment, and I really was in denial up until the Wednesday, when I've been going through this process of going to Home Affairs and TLS immigration to get my visa, Home Affairs to get my passport. And it just so happened that that week I needed to go collect my visa. My visa was now good to go. We were happy. And I needed to go all the way to Menlyn, which is literally almost 50 kilometers from where I stay. So I thought to myself, if I had to take an Uber from here to Menlyn and then come back and then go to the office, like, it's going to be so expensive. And now I sound silly saying that, like, I avoided Uber costs and went to go buy a Mercedes. Way good. But that's not my mindset. My mindset was, this was not even in my plan, right? I just needed to get to Menlyn the next day. And so what did I do? I reached out to the resources that matter the most, my parents, and I called them. I'm like, guys, what's working? You guys are well experienced, very amazing people with a lot of cars. Can I just use one just for this week, because I need to go and get my visa? I'm coming back. I'm excited. All I care about is London, right? And I'm so upset that my Smart is like gonna take 8 weeks to fix, you know. Namanje, as I'm recording this, it's still at the mechanic, but we'll come back there. So anyway, my parents, because they are loving parents and they, you know, they love me, they were like, no girl, come get your mom's car. So I took my mom's car, and on Thursday I went to go collect my visa. I came back, and we literally thought about this because of the fact that even though I work in a hybrid setting, I do prefer going into the office most days, because I live off the interaction of being with other people, and also being away from my home makes my home more of a sanctuary, because I can appreciate being home and not working. So I like that separation between working at the office as opposed to like constantly working from home. So I just thought to myself, I probably need to make plans to go into the office every day. And what am I going to do if we have one car and my husband is not working in a hybrid setting? He actually has to go to the office every day. So on Friday, we started looking on the internet. We're looking for cars. And he shows me the blue car, you know, I call it the blue car. He shows me the blue car. I'm like, impy. Literally, that's all I said. Impy. And he's like, what? Are you looking at this thing? I'm like, it's blue. Impy. Anyway, he's like, no, you are on something. Like, there's absolutely no way. This is a beautiful car. And I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. And I think it's important to mention that just a month ago, before this conversation, we were actually thinking about buying another property because of the fact that we wanted to expand our family. And even though this apartment was dear to us, it's our first big purchase, I just felt like the space for another member in the family, and also like potentially getting a helper to live in this room, to live in this place, it was going to be so congested, and I wanted everybody to feel like they have a sense of privacy. So I think for the most part, our biggest discussion was about getting another house. And when we looked at other houses, guys, I don't know what's going on with the housing market, but the houses that are the ones that I want, give them at 3.5 million, you know? And I'm just thinking, listen, are you expensive, or are the houses that look decent that costly in this economy? And I kid you not, guys, I am not bougie. All I wanted was a 4-bedroom house in a suburban area, and I kid you not, the ones that look decent, you must be willing to do 3 million. And when I was doing the installment calculations, my heart sank, because I was like, there's absolutely no way we're going to be paying that amount every month. What will we eat if we pay that amount for a house? And so the conversation has been around securing a house and not a car. This was never going to be a conversation, because if it wasn't for that Saturday and the Smart, none of this would have happened. So anyway, bringing it back to where we were, on Friday, he's like, okay, let's just rather go to the dealership the next day and just go see, because maybe you're not seeing correctly because I've got an eye problem. He's like, maybe you're not seeing it from the car in the phone. Let's go to the dealership and go check it out. And so we go to the dealership. And when we're at the dealership, obviously they do like the basic questions. What are you looking for? What is your price range? Etc. etc. And I tell them. And obviously, guys, like I said, I'm very practical. So for me, I knew that it was time for me to get a car, but it was not a priority because of the fact that I'm such a accountant at heart. Like for me, cars depreciate in value. Property appreciates in value. So for me, I would rather spend my money on like getting property and knowing that if I do sell it off, I'm going to make a profit, as opposed to a car. So I was never happy with the idea of getting a car, but to know that it was time. It's been 7 years, Lesego. Honestly, it's not even a situation where it's an impractical purchase. It makes sense. Right now, you guys need 2 cars at home, but BENZ, you know. And so when we're there, I see another car that I really liked, and it was white, and it was an SUV. The reason why it's an SUV, again, we want to expand the family. So it only made sense for me to not look for just now, but to also think ahead. So because we want to expand the family, it had to be an SUV. And so I looked at an SUV that was white, that was not in our price range, but I feel like for me, when I looked at it, it made sense. I was like, you know what, Lesego, just dig deep in your pockets, dig very, very deep, but you need to get that car. But then my husband brought up the fact that, like, no, we saw another blue one, and then the dealer was like, no, oh, we have it in stock. So we went to go see it. I still was not impressed. All I could see was that it was blue. And I feel like it's important to mention in the story that as I'm telling this, I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm trying to speak to you the exact, you know. I'm like, the car is blue. I don't know. They're like, okay, let's start the car. Ah. My husband is like, ah. And I'm like, blue. I don't understand what the hype is about. We get in the car. I'm still not feeling this car, and it's not that I'm like picky or anything. I just could not wrap my head around the fact that the car is blue. So long story short, they're like, you know what, we can tell that you're a bit like apprehensive about the car, so why don't you come back during the week next week and you can come and test drive the car, and then you can decide between this one and the one that you were looking at, and then you can make your decision after the fact. And the next week at work, guys, I don't want to lie, it was like the busiest week that I've had at my new employer. I've had busy weeks, let me not lie. I've had busy weeks in September, but this time in October, I had like board meetings. I had multiple client meetings. There was multiple audit clients that we were trying to finalize. So this week was going to be very intensive for me at work. So it was going to be a stretch for me to come back to the dealer. But we managed to find a date, which was on the Monday, because we actually wanted to go on the Thursday, but we went on the Monday. Getting there on Monday, it was raining, and I don't know, I think the car, they had it outside, but then they put it back inside, so it still had like a bit of rain on it. And then I was like, okay, with water it looks like it's doing something, you know, it looks a bit shiny, sprinkly, it's doing something, you know. And that was the first time I actually started seeing the beauty of the car without even understanding all these alphabets in the car. Like, guys, I honestly was not impressed with the car because I am not knowledgeable with the car. So the fact that they were telling me about the specs and it's called AMG, what, all I heard was alphabets. I could not, like, it's blue. So I get into the car, I test drive it, come back, and I made up my mind. I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm actually going to go through with it. We're going to start the process. We start the process, and I get home, and it finally hit me what I was actually doing. Like, I don't know, it's like a brewing that came from the stomach into my heart, into my mind, and it's like every shackle that I had about money, about what I believe I deserve, about what God has in store for me, about what I believe I'm supposed to walk into, everything was in my face. I started hyperventilating. I started panicking because I'm like, Lesego, what are you doing? Like, how could you think that you can buy this car? Like, onana oma, you know, that like imposter syndrome that I've been experiencing for most part of the year was awakened at a I can't even explain. Like, I felt like I was beside myself, you know, and I could not focus when I came back home. I literally could not rationalize the decision that I'm about to take. And the fact that I hadn't planned this, I'm such a planner. I'm always wanting to have a hold of my future, of the things that I'm doing. So for the first time, being in a position where I had no control over the fact that I did not plan to do this, and I just literally went to a dealership, and now I'm processing, and oh my gosh, the finances, how am I going to sustain it? Because the one thing that I learned about this car is that obtaining is so easy. It's possible for anyone, even you that are listening from the other side. Obtaining is easy. It's sustaining that's the challenging part. Because for me, I thought about this car represents not only the car itself, but the lifestyle, the breaking through the comfort, understanding that I need to sustain this level that I'm inviting into my life. At 28 years old, if you have the boldness to go out with your own hard-earned money without having to compromise any of your values by compromising things on social media or doing underhanded deals, but purely going about this from a financial planning perspective, how dare you think you can afford this? How dare you think you can have this, you know? And the devil was loud, guys. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was under spiritual attack. I was hyperventilating. I was not eating. I was not sleeping. I remember I literally was sleeping maybe 2 hours in a night in that week. Granted that I'm having these meetings that are taking place because it was a busy week. I was like on a call with the client, I would hang up, I'd be on a call with the bank, I'd hang up, I'd be on a call with the dealership, I'd hang up, I'd be on the call again in a board meeting, I'd hang up, then the dealership. It was just a lot for me to take in, and I was not eating at that point in time. And it was like an indirect fasting, if I could put it like that, because I didn't even have capacity to eat. I could not think about eating because the voices of you're undeserving, you're not supposed to have this, like what are you doing, what are people going to think about you, and also breaking the thoughts or the deception that I had myself were coming to light. Because for me, it's like people that have these things are the ones that don't do things correctly, are the ones that compromise, are the ones that like do questionable things to have nice things, you know. And it was none of that. And for me, it was like I made it about it being blue, but it was because I was not aware of what this car represented for me and for the people around me and for my family, and the platform that I even have to know that this can be a testimony, right? This can all end up correctly. And honestly, I kept praying and I'm like, God, like, if you don't want this for me, send me a sign, like do something, you know. But things just kept working out. My financing was getting approved, like things were like working for me getting this car, and we closed this deal within a week, guys. I wish it was a situation where it's like I had time to process what was happening, but I'm in and out of the office. I'm on the call with the dealership and the banks, and things are working out. And when I get home, all I'm doing is I'm praying. Like, you know, when you are praying, like this is the time where I'm like, God, the gift of the Spirit would be nice right now. To speak in tongues at this point in time would make sense. I was even craving to be on some roba ba ba ba, you know, for it to come out, because I could not explain what was happening with me. It's like my mind was attacking me, and the delusion of you're undeserving, you're an imposter, how dare you think you can buy this, and God just affirming me and saying that do it, it's fine, you know. And the fact that I had my husband to support me in this, right? Guys, I need to disclose, I did not tell anyone about this decision. Like, I didn't tell my friends, I didn't tell my family. The only people that I literally told at the very end were my parents and my husband. That's it. So I was carrying all of this by myself, and I realized that I had such a high dependence on telling my friends and people around me so that I can feel validated in my decision. So I honestly felt like I needed the crutch of my family and my friends to tell me that this is a bad decision or wrong decision. But I didn't have that because I didn't tell anyone, and I couldn't for the life of me understand why I wasn't telling anyone. But I was praying from my core, because I was unshackling my beliefs, my limitations, my what do I believe I need to have and what I shouldn't have, and what does it mean about me? Because for me, it's like people that had nice things, flashy things, are they really from the kingdom, you know? Because of the fact that like you don't see a lot of people getting nice things in the right way. And so for me, it was breaking through that as well, and like telling myself that like, Lesego, you've worked hard, and if you can afford it, if you can financially plan and show people that this is sustainable, it wasn't just about obtaining it, and it was also just not about people, it was about me. It was about like what I feel like I deserve and don't deserve, and at the same time what I think I can and cannot have, because that for me was like the biggest wrestling that I was going through with like my devil mind telling me that you are not capable, and how dare you think at 28 you can go out and be beside yourself and buy a Mercedes Benz and AMG. Like, who do you think you are, you know? So I was relieved once I had gotten it. That Friday, I'll never forget when I went to go fetch it. It was like I was having like an out-of-body experience, because I felt like I was looking into someone else's life. It just didn't feel like it was happening to me, and I really did struggle like with the reception, because of how after the video was released on my Instagram and also on the dealer's page, the reception, guys, it was so overwhelming, because I think I was relieved, right, that I had concluded it and I'd gone through the week, because I had lost weight. In a week, I had lost weight. I was sleep deprived. I'd only had like 4 meals that whole week. I was just in constant prayer, fasting, those spiritual things without even acknowledging or understanding it. You know what I mean? And so for me, at the end, I was relieved, but now for my flesh to catch up with what has just happened in the spirit, because the messages that I was getting was not so much about, oh, this car is so beautiful. It's about like, Lesego, you are so inspiring. Lesego, we can actually see the fruits of your labor. Like, we can actually see you're a hard worker. Like, this is such a testimony for young people to work hard, to know and stay in the good fight, you know. The fact that I had my child so young, I had written myself off. So everything that has happened to me, career-wise, friendship-wise, just everything that has happened after my pregnancy for me has been such a blessing. Even the bad things, more especially the bad things, because they have shaped me to understand that not everything is always going to go according to plan, but you must still be grateful in those moments, because they prune you, they make you into a better person. So for me, I had written myself off. For the longest part, I don't believe that I deserve certain things, and that's why for me, when I have to share my testimonies, especially on my platform, I get very nervous, because I'm like, God has been so good, and if I had to sit down and explain how good he's been, it sounds like a script. It sounds like an entire movie, because I'm also looking into this movie and I'm like, whomst are you, girl? Like, what is going on, you know? But it's strange that this happened while I'm also planning this whole thing of going to London and having to go fetch my visa, and now already di BENZ here, but you know. But I think it's sitting and basking and allowing God to bless you, but not just about the things. It's about what he did for me mentally, that he introduced this concept that sustaining this thing is truly going to be what's going to make or break you. And I was really humbled by everyone and their reception, and I had learned a lot about myself. I had learned a lot about faith. I learned a lot about fasting and praying. And just a few things that I wanted to note down, that I've mentioned this, that obtaining is always easy. I don't want to lie to you. Don't let anybody lie to you, because you can obtain things and compromise your values and do things that don't align with the will of God. And you can obtain it, but it's sustaining that's going to be the challenging part, because once you've had a taste, it's about what you're going to do to keep that thing into your life. It's the how that is going to matter. So for me now, I know that this introduced me to vibrate at a higher level, and to also be ready to receive the things that I'm praying for. Don't just pray for something and then think that when it arrives, you're done praying. You have to continuously pray over the car, pray over the safety of it. Know that this is only but a part of my life. This is not going to define me. I am not better because I'm driving a BENZ, you know. It does not make me character-wise a better person because I have a thing attached to my name. And this is the deception that people like have, that if they have certain things, they believe they can act a certain type of way, or they can do certain type of things. It's not about the things of the world. It's not about the works of this world, but it's about your character. It's about how you're going to sustain this privilege that's going to be in your life. The other thing that I learned is that fasting is a real thing. Like, fasting is so sacrificial, you know. This is not a light fast that I was doing, and it was an unintended fast, if I could put it like that. But I had so much clarity in my decision making, in negotiating prices, in doing certain things, because I was not distracted by food. And that revelation, that scripture came to mind. Like, man cannot live on bread alone, but must live on every word that proceeds the mouth of God. Like, I finally had that revealed in me, that I was not so concerned about my appetite physically. I was thinking about, am I doing what's in the will of God, and am I getting this correctly, and am I doing something that is not going to harm me in the end, where it's going to be another story of, oh my gosh, you got something and now you can't sustain it, or you can't receive it, and you know. There wasn't a lot of distraction around me. All I had to do was pray and realize that it was possible for me because I was fasting. I was not allowing my flesh to run my decisions. Like I said, my flesh caught up to me after I had received the car. It's as if like now I was coming back towards myself, you know. And I believe in fasting, and this is something that I never used to practice, but I think this year I've done a lot of fasting activities. But this one, this unintended one, it was necessary, I'm telling you. The other thing is that I was breaking a lot of shackles, like those lies of I'm undeserving, I'm out of place, I'm an imposter, realizing that things do not define people. And I didn't have to think that this was going to define me, because I felt like at the core I haven't changed, but I'm going to be driving this car that people think, make it make sense, you know, the math is not mathing. But I finally had to understand and break that limitation to know that things do not define you. And then there were also other things that I learned, like when you are in uncomfortable territory, you hold on to what you know. All I could say is why I didn't want this car was because it was blue. I had to just be humble and acknowledge the fact that I didn't understand cars, and that I don't know that I'm getting value for money, and that this is a good engine, and that this is a good brand, and I'm sorted in terms of like maintenance. I'm not going to have issues like that. But I didn't have that knowledge. All I could reduce it down to was that the color is blue and I don't want it. And so learning to be humble in that moment and realizing that, you know what, people know better outside of me. And when I say people, I mean trusted people. My husband knew better. My sister-in-law knew better. My parents knew better. But for me, I had to be humble and say, you know what? I don't know, and that's fine. But I'm still going to make an informed decision. And then lastly, just in closing, I feel like family, you need to allow your family to steward you and trust that they will steward you correctly. Because I didn't tell a lot of my family members. I didn't tell my friends. I like literally kept this so dear to me because it was going against everything that I thought I knew. And also knowing that I cannot be reckless in who I tell this information to, because I'm so vulnerable. I feel so exposed. I feel like this is uncharted territory for me, and I need to be guided. I need to know what I'm doing is making sense for who I am, and knowing that I can do it with proper foundation supporting my decision. And my parents and my husband were doing exactly that. And so I would like to encourage you to say, if you're going through a lot, right, it's not necessary to always open up to your friends and like make it a whole, you know, committee and want to sit there, the word that I'm looking for, a whole society discussing about your plans and your goals and your vision. Those things should be entrusted with a small group of people that you can really trust, to know that even things, if they had to go west or south or north, you know, I know my parents have my back. I know my husband has my back, you know. And so, not to make this any longer, this has taught me a lot about myself, a lot about the goodness of isolation and making decisions very privately and very unexpected, you know, because I had people reach out to me that I haven't even spoken to in years because of a BENZ. Because I bought property when I was 25 going on 26. No flowers whatsoever. Guys, no. I was not impressed. I was not impressed by that. I still want my flowers. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the story time, and I hope it has inspired you to know that stay on course. I think things are seasonal and things happen at the right time. I don't think had this happened a bit earlier or later, it wouldn't have made sense. I think it's at the right time that it's happening, because I had exposed myself, challenged myself, and invited a level that I never thought I would be walking into. But I see that it was but the grace of God that has carried me, that will continue to carry me, that even when things are happening for me, I need to be able to receive them without rebuking them, without feeling that my deepest fear is not that I'm inadequate, is that I am powerful beyond measure. It is that kind of fear that I need to break, to know that that is a limitation on my life that I don't need to continuously walk into. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, to comment, to share, and to subscribe. Please don't forget to engage with the content. Leave a comment. Let me know which part of the story is baffling you, because even namanje, I am baffled. But otherwise, see you guys soon. Bye.